Hello again. My name is James Byrne, and in today's episode of my podcast, we're going to discuss a biography written by Mrs. Enid Stubbard Debarthe, July of 1969, regarding the Mormon prophet leader Joseph Smith. And this was part of a um, document for her to receive a degree master of the Library of Science. And let's have a look at it here. Presented to the faculty at the Northern Illinois University. So what she says about polygamy, who wrote Section 132? In a careful analysis of the writings of Joseph Smith, the second, which is the prophet Joseph Smith, brought several things to light, at least for this writer. First, Joseph Smith's writings were strongly Elizabethan in style. Second, because of the peculiarity of his writing style, it is evident that Section 132, the purported revelation on polygamy, was not written by Joseph Smith. Third, a careful analysis of the writings of numerous contemporaries of Joseph Smith strongly indicates the true authorship of Section 132. In the light of these findings, as to sentence structure, phraseology, peculiarities of vocabulary, it seems evident that Joseph Smith did not write any part of the purported revelation on polygamy known as Section 132. The writings of 5 possible authors of Section 132 were analysed, and one of the 5 seems most suspect. However, to be sure, other writers contemporary with Joseph Smith were added until the following had all been carefully checked. Talk about John C. Bennett, Hiram Smith, Oliver Cowdery, Harley B. Pratt, Orson Pratt, Orson Hyde, John Taylor, Brigham Young, Willard Richards, Wilfred Woodruff, Heber C. Kimball, and George A. Smith, is what she goes on to look at. Since Hiram Smith was most closely associated with Joseph Smith, and since Joseph C. Kingsbury testified in the Tempelot suit in 1893 that he copied a revelation Bishop Whitney received from Hiram Smith, it seems wise to check Hiram's writing style. It was noted, however, that Mr. Kingsbury claimed he copied the revelation in July 1842, just a day or two after it was given. But then he later said, within 10 days after it was received, and then finally, I'm willing to swear that within 20 days after that I copied it, and that it was revealed to him within 20 days prior to the time I copied it. When asked how many sheets of paper he used to copy the revelation on polygamy, he said there was 2 sheets of it. I suppose I was not more than an hour. Perhaps it took an hour, perhaps not over half an hour, concerning the teachings of polygamy. Mr. Kingsbury, in any state up to 1844, to take more wives. Wait, I should say there, no one had the privilege under the laws of the United States to take more wives Number one, we will not consider that we had such a privilege at all. I had married 3 times since 1844. My wives were not living at the same time, but 2 of them were living at the same time. I do not remember hearing any minister, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, prior to 1844 in Arvu or any other place, preach or teach the doctrine of polygamy, nor in any other place or time prior to 1844. Never heard it preached from the stand prior to 1844 at all. I never heard it preached from the pulpit before 1844. So, um, you know, clearly then, Joseph C. Kingsbury is telling us that he never heard of it. It was just what some other witnesses in previous episodes we've mentioned, that there was no thought, no talk of polygamy, spiritual wifery, or any such thing spoken before 1844. And note, he mentions there 2 pages that he's seen that he copied. So there could have been a marriage revelation by Joseph Smith that was revealed to him. And 2 pages is not what we have today. It's Look at section 132 and you're seeing maybe what, 5, 6, 7 pages. Um, Certainly not 2 pages. So whatever Joseph Smith received there regarding the marriage, there may indeed have been a marriage revelation. And the Utah leaders then added to it and made it into what we have today as Section 132, which they brought before the church in 1852. So let's go on to speak then. Those who are familiar with the writings of Ulster Cowdery would not suspect any relationship to the polygamy revelation, and analysis quickly exonerated him. The format and content of Section 136, given through Brigham Young at winter quarters, did not implicate him. In fact, the style of Section 132 seemed to indicate Orson Hyde. Careful check of the seer and his sermon's sanctification did not prove this to be true. Orson Hyde used 11 particle verbs that 20 times, but no that which or that, and his sentence length averaged 27.9 words. The terms peculiar to Section 132 were not used by Orson Hyde except for exaltation. Orson Pratt's Sermon on Celestial Marriage and other writings compared favorably only in the use of that 25 times. Harley P. Pratt's spiritual communication and his writings in Times and Seasons did not implicate him, though he too frequently used that. John Taylor uses have got to 8 times, but he could not be suspected of writing 132. Closer analysis of section 136 revealed 23 that phrases and only one which. Again, the modal must appeared. So he rules out him also. So the idea of this thesis or biography is she's trying to see who was the real author of section 132. All right, let's read this. There is not a single constitution of any single state, much less the constitution of the federal government, that hinders a man from having two wives, and I defy all the laws of the United States to prove the contrary. This was 1st of August 1852, prior to the public presentation on the revelation of polygamy. Was Brigham Young feeling outside pressure to prove polygamy a tenet of faith subject of religious freedom? Right. Some things she also discusses in her thesis. Scriptural fallacies in section 132. If polygamy was an ancient order commanded of God, it could not be a new and everlasting covenant. Actually, sure, I might as well read the first point there also. If I, the Lord, justify my servants Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and also Moses, Rebekah was Isaac's only wife. It cannot be proved that Zipporah had not died before Moses married his second wife, the Cushite woman. The Westminster Dictionary of the Bible says Zipporah may have died before the preceding year, although her death is not recorded. We've mentioned analysis in a previous episode that Zipporah, from where she came from, uh, the Cushite could indeed have been the Cushite woman or the Midianite. Could be one and the same person. Either way, as uh, she points out in this thesis, that they could have died. Moses could have possibly married again, but what's to say he married after his first wife died, if that's what happened? Third point, the marriage law instituted from the foundation of the world was not polygamy, it was monogamy. Jesus said, have you not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. Wherefore they are no longer twain, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, no man pull asunder. While this applies to divorce, it seems to say that another wife shall not separate what God has joined. Jacob in the Book of Mormon, speaking for God, said, David and Solomon truly had many wives and concubines, which thing was abominable before me, which we've quoted before. Weaknesses of Man. This is a sermon, the 1st of August, 1852. Laws of the New Covenant, which is referred to, she refers to it as polygamy. If I had 40 wives in the United States, they did not know it and could not substantiate it. Neither did I ask any lawyer, judge, or magistrate for them. I live above the law, and so do this people. Doesn't sound too good. Living above the law. The Christian nations are struck with amazement when they are told a man may have more lawful wives than one. There is not a single constitution of any single state, much less the federal government, that hinders a man from having two wives, and I defy all the lawyers of the United States to prove the contrary. This is all in the same sermon you see there from 1852. So we see there that she's making a case there. I thought it was worth the while sharing with you, considering this thesis that she made. That polygamy, just based on the testimony of Joseph C. Kingsbury, if you get out of this episode, that he didn't hear of it. There was no mention of it prior to 1844. If anything was going on, it was a secretive, hidden, hush, secretive carry on that was going on behind the scenes, which, Joseph Smith didn't seem to be aware of. Only until the last, say, lead up to his death did he understand that the likes of Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball and others were involved in it. And had he survived the Cartridge jail, where he was put in jail, he would have rooted out the polygamous people, and um, history could have been so much different. Could you imagine? So, thank you for listening to my episode today, and I'll be delighted to share something again with you pretty soon. Bye for now.